Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Quorum Podcast. This is where academic medicine meets remote, austere, and resource-limited areas.
So, hello and welcome to the Quorum Podcast. This is Tim Cranton, and today I am lucky enough to be talking to Lazlo Hegedus. Lazlo, I hope I've said that correctly.
Yeah, this was perfect, Tim.
Thank you. Can you do me a favor? Can you introduce yourself? Just tell us a little bit about your background, qualifications, and your current job, kind of what you're doing now. And just for you guys out there, Lazlo is a close protection private security detail paramedic. Is that right, Lazlo?
Yeah, correct.
Tell us a little bit more about that if you can.
Yeah, so basically, hello to everyone. My name is Lazlo. I'm from Hungary. I've been doing private security and medical aid for now around 11 years. So currently I'm a board certified tactical paramedic. Have been a paramedic since 2014, and I have been in the private security industry since 2012. Regarding qualifications, I have basically all the necessary qualifications needed to be like a tier 2 medic. So got my healthcare training as a paramedic. I do have my EMT, ACLS, BLS, TCCC, TECC, and all the necessary things that I need out there in the field.
So you said tier 2. What does that mean?
Tier 2 is a qualification system, basically, that is mostly used in the private security, oil and gas, private security. It's a system. It's quite the opposite which you hear, like with special forces and with the military, because, in special forces, tier 1 is the tip of the spear, they're the elite, on and on. Tier 2 is a lower quality, tier 3, and on. So like here is both the opposite. So basically a tier 1 medic is it's an advanced first aider. So the tier 1 guys are the ones that have the FPOS course. They have the FREC level 3, they have the MIRA, they have the EMT. So basically all of these qualifications that does not have like invasive competencies in it.
Or doesn't have a license like a paramedic would?
Yes. Okay.
So
a tier 2 medic is everyone who has like a medical degree, a medical qualifications, so like an advanced EMT, a paramedic, a registered nurse, a practicing nurse, physician assistant, or even a doctor.
Okay.
And they must have some certain extra qualifications, such as like ACLS, PHDLS, TCCC, and all these other courses. And there's a question about the T3. Sometimes they refer T3 as the remote clinic itself, but sometimes they do refer to tier 3 as an emergency physician. So if you have an emergency physician in like your close protection team, he is considered a T3 medic, because like all of the tiers come down to hours as well, because like the tier 1 can handle a patient maximum an hour. A tier 2 can hold the patients for more than 2 hours, and obviously goes up the way. But in reality, this is on paper, this is on theory, because in reality, there were situations where we had a tier 1 medic was with a patient for hours and hours and hours.
Wow.
So way beyond the scope of BLS.
So what is private security detail? In my mind, I imagine, the Queen's police bodyguards, or what is private security detail?
So private security detail basically is a protective formation of PSD operators who provide personal security for the client and the VIP, mostly in hostile environments, because like in hostile environments, and mostly Americans use the term PSD. In a civilian setting, mostly people sometimes use PSD, but they're mostly use CPO, like close protection, because like many people likes to like divide it PSD to be like the the hostile part of the protection, and the CP would be like your executive protection. It would be like in a civilian setting, like Berlin or Tokyo or New York, on and on.
So are you a bodyguard?
Basically, yes. I provide personal security for my clients who are businessmen, diplomats, ambassadors, high-profile individuals, engineers, people from oil and gas, from NGOs, from diplomatic corps.
Will you have somebody in a vehicle with you, or do you provide an escort with vehicles? I mean, and do you have guns? I mean...
Oh yeah, both. So like in hostile environments, you're always strapped. You're always strapped. You go with the B6.
Nice technical term, strapped.
Yeah. We are armed. Yes.
Yeah.
So we go with the B6, B7 vehicles. Obviously, we use drills and formations, and the team leaders, they always train us and sharpens our skills. When we are not on duty, we have our SOPs.
So obviously you're a paramedic, but where can you get this close protection, training? Because I'm guessing you have to. You can't just like maybe leave the military, or you can't just have a background maybe in protecting property or security guard. There must be some course that you would still need to go on.
Yes, exactly, and that is where many people have the issues, because most of the guys who come out from the military or the police force, they have like, let's say 5, 10, 15 years experience, and they want to jump into private security. That is not how it works. Basically, there are requirements set by the companies that you must tick the boxes. So first and foremost, like in the beginning, when all the big PMC, PSD activities started in 2003, like with the invasion of Iraq, basically, literally everybody could go. Everybody could be a bodyguard, a PSD, can go with the PMC company and do all the tactical stuff. Back then there was no legislation, there was no registry, there was no nothing. But when people were coming in and they were basically doing questionable things, then the industry realized like, oh, we need to standardize this whole thing. And because most of the companies were British, they were like looking more towards British qualifications. So for example, the security industry authorities, frontline close protection training, they were looking for, and for its license. To have this complete, also to have this license, you need to have like, I think it's called emergency first aid at work level 2. Get the license, but due to the fact that these activities are more hostile, even in the civilian world, they were more recommending to do the first person on scene intermediate. And with that together, that you can have your SI license.
So is it? I mean, is this everywhere in the world? You have to have this British license, or are there other countries that you can get this training?
Yeah, for many years, basically, it was only in the UK, and people had to travel to the UK and to the coast there. But now they have these satellite training centers, which means that basically that you can do it in other countries as well. And this is a point where I really want to point out to dear listeners who are interested in joining the industry, is always do a thorough search on what kind of company do you trade with.
Right.
So always look them up on the internet, look them up if they are actually registered with the SI, because there are some very, very, very interesting companies out there saying that they do the SI training. Right. And you actually get the SI certificate, but when you want to register in the UK with the SI, and they're like, oh, sorry, your certificate is
not valid.
Yeah, because for like, there was a while, I will not say the company, but it was in Europe. The certificate number, they just copy and pasted random phone numbers from a phone book. So
at the end of the day, I think the message then is, if you're going to do this thing, you need to make sure you find a reputable, trainer.
Yes.
Who's going to give you legitimate, obviously, certificates, but you need to do a recognized close protection course before you can go into this industry. So you've not only got to have your paramedics ticket, and you just said ACLS and several others, but you obviously need to have your close protection certificate as well.
Yeah,
to show that you've done formal training.
Exactly. And another thing I really want to point out is, dear listeners, just please watch out for these, how we used to call these Rambo or John Wick boot camps.
Right.
Because there are some legitimate SI training centers, which I will not name, but the way they handle training is they train you up in a false picture.
Right.
They train you up in a way that you are John Rambo, you are John Wick, you can handle everything, you're the awesomest, you're the coolest, you never mess up.
So what you're saying then is that training doesn't necessarily match the reality of the job.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay. And when they say that you can only do it this way, and not other way, because once you're in close protection and PSD, to be honest, everything all looks cool on the videos with the formations and everything. Reality, 90% is improvisation.
Right. As a medic, let's say I want a career change and I'm looking to get into close protection. How do I know? How am I going to find the best company? Who should I talk to? Other than yourself, obviously.
Well, Tim, I'll help you every day at a time. So, first and foremost, you need to check out if you match the boxes. So you have X amount of years in either armed security, military, police, on and on. If you have your SI qualifications or your state equivalent qualifications, important, everything should be in date. Your BLS, ACLS, your licensing, everything's in date. You can basically go to the companies, check out their careers, get the HR, send their emails, and basically that's it. You just need to send. Networking, to be honest, is a way much more effective way. So networking, if you're in a network of people who are already in the industry and they know you. Hey, I know Tim. Tim is a competent guy. I worked with him. Yeah, I could recommend him to a job, because that's the biggest issue that I got calls many times and emails like, hey, listen, we don't know each other, but I'm this and this and this. Please help me into a job. And obviously, I don't know who you are. And if I take you in, your name is on my name.
I think word of mouth goes a long way, doesn't it, in this industry? It's certainly, for medics, not even, close protection, working offshore on a rig or something like that. Word of mouth goes an awful long way. And I guess, at the end of the day, what you need to do is impress people. Show them that you're capable, and if you're not up to the job, then arguably you shouldn't be doing it. So obviously you're close protection medic, so you've done your medical training, and you've also had to do training in close protection and gain an SIA license or equivalent. So what medical duties do you have then if you're spending all day looking after your clients?
No, that is actually the best part. So obviously, we are there to give immediate medical aid to the client or to our fellow team members. So that is priority. That is the highest thing. And that's what people find sexy, because, how cool, I got my medical bag. I'm out in the desert, with my rifle, with the client, or we're in the middle of a city in some Middle Eastern country or Iraq somewhere. That looks cool, but to be honest, that is only like 15% of the job.
Okay.
That's what many people don't understand. Like for a medic, your most, especially as a tier 2 medic, the most thing you do is paperwork, it's training, checking, and very importantly, not like nursing care, but more like sick calls.
Okay, yeah, sick calls. So clinical work.
Yes, sick calls and very importantly, health and safety.
Okay. So health prevention as well.
Yes. So for example, when I was working in Afghanistan, basically I had to go and check because our chefs were locals, and I had to every morning before they start and after they finish, I have to go in and do like a health inspection.
Wow.
to see, for example, when they make the cleaning fluids for the dishes, what kind of chemicals they use. Do they wash correctly? How is the sanitization good? Are they wearing gloves, hair nets, all of these stuff? They clean, swap everything. Did they use the necessary chemicals?
This sounds kind of very much like my job on an offshore oil rig.
Yeah, it is. And, this is what, what many people think is that, oh yeah, you're in Afghanistan, gung ho, rifles, this and this. And no, that was one of my basic things to go and check out the kitchen if it's clean. And yeah.
There is a possibility that during the course of the security work, you could get compromised. Have you ever had a situation, where that's happened?
Yes, it did on several occasions, both in Iraq and Afghanistan. But that's something I don't really want to put out, in the public. It's something I will definitely tell you because I know you for a very long time and you're my friend and I trust you. But it's things happen, but it's not for the public.
So obviously, operational security is something that it's not just a question of maintaining it at work. I guess you also need to maintain that outside of work. I'm guessing you've worked with some quite high profile clients, in which case you've got to be careful what gets said in a public forum.
Oh, especially like we got like the secrecy declaration, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
The secrecy enclosure.
Yeah. Disclosure.
Yes. So usually with these companies, it's 8 years.
Wow. Okay. So you have to sign a document to say that you cannot say something, about a situation that may have occurred or whatever.
Yes, or about the clients.
Or of course, and identifying the clients too. Yeah.
So basically, there's like it's not a big page. It's like an A4 page, but the list is very long. Like they can sue you for this and this, and they can take your house and your soul. It's very, very draconic.
It's kind of funny. You see these guys that, they write books and, they've been here and they've done that.
Yes.
And it's like, I kind of wonder that, you not need to be careful kind of what you're saying sometimes. And I think, people maybe forget that this is not something that you can just go home and tell your mates in a pub. Once you're in the job, you need to maintain operational security. It's important for your safety, I guess, and your clients.
Yeah. For example, this is why for like a few years now, I deleted my LinkedIn and all of these social media pages because, I'll be honest, like in the first few years when I started out, but regarding operational security, I put up some pictures like, hey, look, I'm here and there. But, the more times change, the more you need to be more aware of operational security. So
where have your travels taken you? You mentioned Afghanistan. So, are you focused on the Middle East or?
Yeah, mostly, yes. I was in Afghanistan for 3 years and I loved every minute of it. I know it's very weird to hear, but for me, it was a magical place. The place itself, the culture, the people, the foods and everything, it's unbelievable. So there I even learned their local language. I learned the customs. I used to go out to the city, to the markets, to the shops, to talk with people, do this and this. They are very, very nice people. The hospitality is amazing. You wouldn't believe how the hospitality of these people. So I really respect the Afghan people and their culture. Very friendly people.
I've heard similar stories of guys that have worked in Afghanistan, and they've said they've enjoyed it out there. I guess it depends on what level of freedom you have. You're saying that you were able to kind of go outside. A lot of people, I think, maybe out there in, listening to the podcast, think that you're stuck in a compound all the time.
Nah. So we had the security. Obviously, security was high and priority. So we always had phone on, tracker on, strap on and on. So
you mentioned languages and about speaking a local language. What was that? Pashto?
Farsi.
Okay.
I tried to learn Pashto. It was very, very difficult. And Pashto language, they mostly speak in the southeast.
Okay. So do you speak any other language? Obviously, you speak Hungarian, you speak English, so some Farsi. Any other languages?
German, a few words of Arabic, and now I'm trying to learn Spanish and French as well.
Wow. Is it important to know other languages?
Definitely. So obviously, if you're in this industry, the first thing which you need to know is English, because the majority of the problem with guys who wants to get into the industry is they don't speak a word of English.
Right. So English is like the international business language,
Yes.
I guess.
Yes, and you need to speak a minimum of on a B2 level.
Okay.
The higher, the better.
So when we were talking this morning, a little bit earlier on before the podcast, you said you're at home and you're stood down or you're on standby. What's happening there?
Yeah, it's again operational security due to reasons. I'm just on a standby at the moment, just waiting for things to happen. So this time I'm using it wisely. So I'm studying. I'm getting my diploma in the US. So I'm studying. I made a little garden for myself. So I'm making some my little basil and rosemary's and all.
Oh wow.
Stuff.
So I mean, are there any downsides to the job then, other than delays on actually mobilization?
Yes, because as I said, I worked in Afghanistan for 3 years. I worked in Iraq for 4, and now for almost 2 years now in Africa. I'll not name the country because I'm currently working there. These countries always have visa issues. It's not like easy like back in the days that you just get on a plane, you get down, you get picked up by a DOD guys and you just go out. So because of the visa issues, you can have issues going into the country. Going out to the country, they can detain you, even though you have all the necessary paperwork, you have your contract, you have your licenses, you have everything. They can just say like, oh, you're a Westerner. What are you doing in Iraq? Are you a spy? Come with us, sit down. And then you sit in the Baghdad airport for like 4 or 5 hours, and then they come in and says, hey, Habibi, Makumushka, you can just go, no problem, brother.
Wow.
So that is always a stress and a downfall, that every time you're going in and out, something might happen.
So do you ever get like stuck on the job? You can't leave?
Yes.
Oh.
It happened during COVID as well. For example, when there's like complex attacks in the cities, which has effect on the airport can go on a lockdown. You can stuck there. If something happens with your visa or with your work paperwork, you can stuck into the countries, and due to operational requirements. Because, for example, if you are a tier 2 medic on a job and your back-to-back has an accident or gets ill, you can get stuck there for extended amount of time. Or for any other operational requirements, they can say that, hey, listen, dude, we got a bad news. You need to extend 2 more weeks. And I mean, you can say no and go home and probably not come back. This is the reality of the job, because let's not forget, this is a very highly competitive job. So probably for your position, there's like 20 other dudes waiting. So if you turn something down, it will change you in a second.
Yeah. I think that's, one of the things about contract work that, again, maybe people don't have an understanding of is, you've got to be committed and you've got to make yourself available. And if you want to keep the job, I mean, I'm guessing the salary's pretty good. You've got to show commitment. And if they ask you to stay, or should I say they tell you that you're staying, you kind of take it willingly. I guess it's a difficult one. This is a job that's not for the faint-hearted, and you've got to be prepared to be disappointed, I guess. You're not necessarily going to go home the day you expect.
Exactly. That's I always used to say that the only way I know that I'm going home, that I'm already on the plane and basically the plane is already landing on the transit country. For example, Turkey, Dubai, or that's the only time that I know that I'm already going home.
Yeah. Yeah. When the helicopter's in the air or when the wings are in the air, then yeah, absolutely. You kind of know you're on your way at that point. What's the longest deployment that you've had in country?
11 months.
11 months without a break.
11 months without a break in Afghanistan.
Wow. And that's again because of delays, or they couldn't get people to cover your job, or incidents that have occurred?
That was due to many guys resigning suddenly.
Okay.
And
so would you say there's a high turnover of people in these kind of jobs?
There is. Well, again, it depends on contracts, depends on how much people can handle bullshit, and it's all about that. So
yeah. Again, I guess, not a job for the faint-hearted. You really need to know what you're getting yourself into, and it's important to have conversations with people like yourself, over a coffee or over a beer, and get a really good picture of what to expect when you get out on the ground. I mean, what do you like for medical equipment? Do you have everything you need in terms of like being a civilian paramedic, or are you limited on what you have?
We are definitely limited. But again, it depends on which contracts you work on. Because, for example, if you work on a DoD contract, you have basically your own armored ambulance with a life pack 12, with all the necessary medications, all the necessary equipment, basically everything. But on, for example, some other contracts, they give you like a rucksack, like a small bag, and it's like here, and with like a small Chinese AED, and it's like, here you go, that's it, work from it. So again, it always depends on, for example, which company, which contract you work on. What I do recommend to the dear listeners, that always bring your own stuff. And by saying your own stuff, I highly say, do not bring your own medications and this stuff, because you can get into some serious issues.
How do you mean?
At the airports.
Okay. Well, because they think it's some other weird drugs, or do you need special licenses to be able to bring those things with you?
Even if you bring your licenses, your contract, your work certificate, they can be like, meh, I don't care. I don't like your face. You're a Westerner. So yeah, come to the jail with us for a few hours. So I do not recommend, because
I would be okay taking my stethoscope, pulse oximeter, my kind of basic personal items.
Yes.
But don't bring medicines.
No. And Tim, it's a very good idea you brought up the stethoscope. I will give out my little secret to the dear listeners, how to get through easily on third world airports. Because in some countries, again, if you are a Westerner, if you're an expat, they don't really like you many times. They're thinking who you are. Maybe you're a spy, maybe you're a mercenary, maybe you're a bad guy. So what I usually do is in my hand luggage, which I take up, I always put in very visibly a stethoscope. And when they check and open up, and they're like, "Oh, Mr. Doctor," and I'm like, yes, I'm doctor. And they're like, "Oh, very good, go, no problem."
Everybody recognizes the universal stethoscope.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I know. It's a lie, and it's not nice to lie, but obviously makes life much more easier than they'll take you up. Because, for example, I always carry a lot of movies with me. I carry a lot of external hard drives, and you would not believe how paranoid they are on hard drives. And they're like, "Oh, what's this? What's on it? We will take this, check it out." And for example, if they see like boots in your luggage or a multi-tool, they freak out, like, "Oh my God."
Yeah. So I guess when you're doing that kind of thing, don't make yourself so obvious. I mean, I know I've seen it before. That you can tell the private security contractors at the airport because they wear a standard uniform of the dark glasses, the ball cap, the 511 trousers.
Yes,
yeah. Don't be that guy.
Yes, and the funny thing is, like, and when I go to these places, like many times I dress. I know it's a bit funny, but I dress like a bit edgy teenager. So I have a Nirvana shirt on, color bracelets. I have like a stonewashed jeans and this chill attitude. Look like an NGO guy.
Don't bring attention to yourself unnecessarily.
Yeah, because if you have like a 511 pants with like a Merrell shoes and Under Armour cap, it raises attention. Just look chill like an NGO guy.
Yeah. American Sans Frontier or something like that.
Yeah, yes.
Lazlo, if you could offer 2 pearls of wisdom for anyone who wants a career in close protection, being a bodyguard, being a tier 2 medic, what would they be?
First and foremost, this is like a no bullshitter point that I really have to give out, that be prepared that you will have no personal life. So if you have a family with kids, it will put a huge toll on your family because you will always be aware.
Yeah.
If you're lucky enough, you can get a 6-on-6 rotation, which is manageable, but mostly they are like 9-3, 8-4. So be prepared for that mentally, that you will be far away from the kids, from the family, from the girlfriend. That's something you really have to realize, that there will be no more Christmas, no birthday parties, no anniversaries. So once you realize that that's the life you will go into, then I could recommend you go for a legitimate SI CP training course. Obviously, first and foremost, if you want to be a tier 2, you must have your medical qualification as a paramedic, as a nurse, as an advanced EMT. So once you have that, you must have your ACL. Very funny thing, I have to point this out, that even though you're a tier 2 medic, you're a paramedic or a nurse with an ACLS, you must have an in-date BLS certification as well.
Right.
That's I highly want to point it out. It doesn't matter you have your ACLS in date, you must have your BLS in date as well.
Okay.
Because they will not accept you on the contract.
So making sure that all your qualifications are up to date, but that includes the detail like your BLS and your AED, that kind of thing.
Because, people would think, why do I need it? Because I already have ACLS. No, it needs to be in date. You must have your ITLS or your PHTLS. TCCC is, on some contracts, it's necessary. Some contracts, it's not necessary. But I highly recommend you have your TCCC. I highly recommend that you have your clinical hours.
Yeah.
And I do highly, highly recommend to have clinical skills, because as I said before, that all these escorts and gung-ho stuff, that's 15% of the job. The most case as a medic, what you will have in the field, is basically sick calls. So you must know how to handle traveler's diarrhea, ear infection, tooth infection, pharyngitis, the common cold, these stuff, because gym injuries. Now, this is a big thing, again, because most guys who are going to Iraq and Afghanistan and Africa, they're expecting to use tourniquets and combat gauze and chest seals. The majority of the trauma in these countries are actually accidents on workplace and gym accidents. So you must really know your soft tissue, how to handle soft tissue injuries, orthopedic emergencies,
strains and fractures.
Yes, it's the basics. So you must really know that, and that's something that I encountered on my second tour, my second year in Afghanistan, because I was already trained up and high, and I was like really knowing my drugs and my ACLS and everything, and guy came to me. Already pus was coming out from his ear, and he was saying like, "Hey, dude, I have some problem with my ear." And I look at it, and it was like otitis media, so his middle ear was infected. I was like, "Oh, okay." So I have all these awesome, cool skills and TCCC and ACLS, and like, what should I do now? So it's very important to have a good medical control, a good medical director who you can call up, use telemedicine to figure out what's going on. And that was the point when I realized that, oh, I need to get like, more clinical skills. And not a little commercial, but it's a little commercial for the college, that I started to do these little online courses about minor illnesses, minor emergencies, and it really gave me a good idea. So
the college does some really good kind of bolt-on courses where you can do, well, we call it continued professional development. So it's the whole never stop learning thing. I have to do it for my paramedic registration. I'm guessing you have to do something similar.
Yep.
So yeah, if you have the opportunity, and do some study, if it enhances your role, and obviously, like you said, you're going to see things like ear infections and stuff. I think people commonly think that, oh, there'll be a doctor there that will deal with those things. But what you're saying is actually you're spending time looking after your clients, looking after your team members for general, health type stuff.
Yes, because on some contracts you will have a doctor, you will have a clinic, but in some contracts you don't, and basically you're the only guy there. Maybe you have a back-to-back who will change you, but you're the only guy. And this is why you really need to be on top of your clinical skills as well, because mostly this will be the stuff you will be dealing with like the sickness, minor emergencies, and now COVID as well. So it's I highly recommend people to, if they didn't work on a COVID ward, to do online trainings, to read books about COVID prevention, management, contingencies, all of these things. Because again, that's something that can come up, and that's the first thing they will look at you. And again, with like continuous professional development and education, you must really, really always teach yourself, always read, because remember,
take the opportunity.
Yes, because once you are a medic on a team, on a contract, everybody will come to you. So all the FPOS guys, the FRAC guys, they will look to you.
Lazlo, thank you so much for talking to us today. I'm sure we could go on for hours, talking about the work that we kind of do, together. I really appreciate your insight into the job. I think, like you said, there's maybe some misconceptions out there that all you're going to be doing is riding shotgun with your AK-47 and your frac vest on, with your aid bag fully kitted up in the vehicle all day. When in actuality, not only do you have to do those duties, but there are other things that are expected of you as well. Like you said, doing clinical work too. You also highlighted that it was important that if you're going to get into this work, you need to do your homework, do your research, talk to people, find the right training provider for your close protection course, make sure that you've got all of your qualifications and everything up to date. And then I guess get your curriculum vitae out there and talk to people. But be prepared for disappointment, delays trying to get visas, delays trying to get flights, delays trying to get home, and the potential to miss time with your family.
Exactly.
Well, like I said, mate, be safe. I hope you kind of get yourself to work soon, or get yourself home wherever you are, and we'll catch up again soon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Seriously, it's my first podcast. As I said, it felt like a bit like a Joe Rogan style chat. I really enjoyed it, and thank you for the opportunity. And I'm looking forward to do some training together with you again soon. And thank you for the listeners. Thank you. Goodbye.
This has been a presentation from the College of Remote and Offshore Medicine Foundation. If you would like to earn CPD credit for this podcast, you can join the Council of Members. Being a member of the college gives you free CPD credits, free access to the virtual field guide, and discounts on our e-learning courses. You can join the team on the college website, which is Corum, Corom, corum.org.